I only brought the little heart today, but thank you.
Really bad. But Clarity has always been pretty good, and she's always like, I don't know, she just, her craft is way, way better now. And she's an amazing poet, and here she is. Clarity!
Okay, am I loud enough? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I'm not really.
Yeah.
So can we give it up for Danny for her birthday, for this space? This is really fucking cool. Like, I knew it was gonna be cool already. I know Danny, I think we might have met around like 07, 08 in the poetry scene. I was doing poetry since I was like 15. I saw her pretty early on in like the Artist Village. But just seeing her advancement from like, okay, she's doing open mic poems and she's doing art and she's crocheting and just seeing her grow, I'm like, I knew this was gonna be a really cool event, but it exceeded all of my expectations. I'm over here fangirling over Danni Little. So just one more time, can we give it up for her? Because she's fucking good. You asked how many blunts I smoked today. So I'll tell you, none. You imply that there's something different about me, something strange or unusual. You insinuate that you know me, that you are as familiar with my demeanor as you are the skin on the back of your hand, so I confess, clowning. I explain away my shifting mood in hopes of not worrying you because I know how you feel about my sporadic marijuana intake, and I don't need a lecture on substance abuse. But I needed that clowning. I needed that 1 milligram rash to stop me from drowning in my anxiety, my feelings, this body of water. I'm so accustomed to floating that I don't consider the possibility of the liquid filling up my lungs, my mind. Is a shark-filled ocean. My emotions could have sent me to a watery grave. I was prescribed this lifeguard in a bottle for those moments. My sanity wants to play Marco Polo, but you scoffed at my reasoning as if I was a junkie, trying to convince you it was okay as long as it only took enough to keep me straight, get this mental monkey off my back. You scoffed at me. You, who knows nothing of my illness. You, who met this body when those self-inflicted cuts had healed. You, who have not witnessed my mania. Who have never felt the obligation to hold my depression close to you with angry, confused arms. You act as if I'm ungrateful for some freedom I possess, but you know nothing of the prison I have to send my pain to. Knowing my wounds will only be rubbed with ignorance, disbelief, or pity. You don't know how bad pity stings, how it makes me wish I could quarantine my crazy. Isolate my insanity until I find someone who understands. You don't know how scarce and how sacred true understanding is and how that's all I ever wanted from you, but you told me to handle my problems like a woman. As if bipolar disorder and PTSD are menstrual cramps and yeast infections. I'm sorry I don't know the right flavor of yogurt to balance the dysfunction in my brain. They don't make heating pads hot enough to burn out the memories of traumatic events that led to me being this way, this torn, this hopeless, this damaged, this woman that you attempt to soothe with phrases like, there's nothing wrong with you. As if I cannot consider taking medication a condition to my rightness the way that diabetics consider taking insulin, writing their blood, the way that new mothers consider holding their babies, writing their postpartum depression, the way that I consider terminating my pregnancy as a way to write my future with you. I remember that day well. You never knew I was pregnant. You rubbed my back softly as I cried from post-abortion pain, disguised as the usual discomfort from my period. You told me I should take a pill for once. That it might help. That was a difficult poem. I literally sobbed on stage the first time I performed it, and for a while I didn't want to perform it because it took so much out of me. But shortly thereafter, like once I got able to do it without crying, people started coming up to me. Like, I have a cousin who's bipolar. I have a friend who just had a suicide attempt. I have a, and then I started realizing that this is something that we need to talk about, and this is a conversation that we need to have, specifically, especially in the Black community, but just period. Like, we need to like normalize these conversations. We need to be able to come to each other. So in addition to, me just thinking I'm just talking about my experience and getting, venting my pain out, I've been able to help other people, and now I actually do like activist work essentially in the mental health community, and I'm a mental health advocate. People come to me like, oh, he's like, what do I do? So I'm thankful for that, for being a safe space for that. Okay, so just to lighten the mood a little bit, if that's okay. This may or may not be vulgar. I don't know what you consider vulgar. I feel like we all grown. But if not, I apologize.
No, you don't gotta apologize. This is her truth. Respect it, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you, Danny.
I love you too.
Okay, so this poem is about a thing that happened. He was my dream guy. In him, I saw an end to my jaded means. We were companionship, nestled in perfection. Until we had sex. If I can call it that. If I can't call it a crime, can't call it an outrage, a crime against my vagina and my leisure time. I shaved my coochie for this. Yeah. Sprayed up all my expensive perfume. I put on eyeliner, lipstick, a bra. I fluffed out my good wig. To receive mediocre head and clumsy thrusting as if there weren't Love and Hip Hop reruns on my DVR right now.
Say that.
A bed with sheets and comforters that always held me correctly. A battery-operated boyfriend fluent in the language of my orgasm. He was trash. But let him tell it. He got demigod dick. Let him tell it. He the poster boy for Pussy Pounder. Let him tell it. Women can't keep up with him. Can't match his nasty. Let him tell it. He's nasty. His foreplay is masterful. He eats twat like it's the Last Supper. The walls cave in to muffle the intensity of the girls moaning from how intense their orgasms are. Stop lying to these bitches. Keep their expectations low. Lead with what a great guy you are, or how often you sing Good Morning Beautiful text, or never ask to go Dutch at Applebee's, or get you a seasoned hoe. Tell her you're a virgin. Let her teach you to fuck as community service. Don't subject anyone to what I went through. How I suffered through stories of your ex-girlfriend cheating on you with 5 different men, and how I felt bad for her. She wasn't ambitious enough. I would have cheated with 6. I was only with you for 8 minutes and I already wish I left you for someone else. I mean, there's a fuckboy in my missed call log who will probably steal all the change left in my purse afterwards, but still leave me richer in cum currency where you had me fuck rough. Like insufficient funds, like you had me in the hole. Like I had to get this pussy pleased by somebody else immediately afterwards to cover my overdraft, and as I settle my balance. Got me to thinking about how I let these men get over when I get under them. How often I share energy and it isn't a fair exchange. How I'm so given. How this giving makes it easier to take from me, but I can't call it a robbery if I opened up the safe for them. I can't feel played when I prove myself a game. I make my body buttons easily push for instant gratification. Yes, I call myself a game. Named you my lover before you had a chance to learn how to love me. Called you my dream guy when I only experienced you with my conscious mind. I was awake the whole time, and you never told me to close my eyes. Thank you. Dear Christians, it is not your duty to plant your seeds here.
Clearly, your God didn't even bless you with enough discernment to know my soul isn't soil. I am flesh and bone. I need steady streams of love with intention breathed into my spirit to live.
People are way more complicated than plants. We do not subscribe to things that restrict us. We cannot expand in your box.
There is nothing for you to garden,
groom, or help grow here.
Do I look like a fucking plant?
Nah.
Do I look like I'm dependent on a motherfucker to take care of me like you do plants? Like you do baby, like I'm a fucking adult?
And if I was a plant, I'd be the kind that didn't need watering or sunlight. I would thrive on thriving alone, like that famous rose that grew from a concrete sidewalk.
I would be the roads of Jericho. I would flourish in the spaces you deem too dark. I would use that isolation to cultivate my light within. You see these seeds that you are so insistent on sowing at my expense. The damage you do when you initiate the conversation. It's always uncomfortable. Like you think there is something wrong with me, like you aren't willing to cultivate an actual relationship with me, but you are willing to leave me in the hands of an entity. The way you use God as an excuse to weaponize the Bible, firing off scriptures that only speak to a truth you believe, not even enough empathy to respect my point of view or spiritual practices. You are not a prophet. Let's not pretend that God sent your judgmental ass here to speak for him.
And let's not pretend I'm not familiar with the teachings. I know they don't preach of Jesus, this chosen gardener, or lost souls, leaves withering, barely budding, begging for some saint to properly pop them or they'll perish.
I'm not on the verge of spiritual suicide. My practice is love. My prayer is meditation and morning affirmations. My rituals consist of drinking tea, burning incense, and making art. That repetitious shit, I know the universe got me. You say your God is love, but your invitation feels more like condemnation.
You feel less like a healthy environment where things are to be nurtured and more like Bible thump and gossip and shame and exile. Your religion gives me claustrophobia. I feel suffocated here.
Your church is the very abomination you accuse my life, my actions, my existence to be.
Your belief system
is a dark space not fit for a plant, for a prayer, for a person to grow. Your God is not a safe space for me. And that's it. Thank you. Folks into believing I'm happy. That's what the real world has taught me to do. I've learned you have to have several well-planned out escape routes when you enter a room. You better spot the nearest bathroom and the nearest exit. You need the quickest ways out. If you happen to have a crying anxiety attack, because everyone will either look at you like you're a weirdo and ignore you, or ask if you're okay and not really give one fuck if you actually are or not. I know it's exhausting, living in a world where your very existence makes folks uncomfortable, where the monsters that used to breed under your bed now dance around like it's 1999 in your head, where you don't have the luxury of depending on parents who will co-sign you're crazy and beat the imaginary imagery to smithereens anymore, when a love that protects ain't never been something you've had enough of to ever have had the chance to get used to. When your intellectuality can't recall the last hug from a mortal you blessed with enough authority to make your mood shift. When all you can think about is being too broke to have 3 meals a day, and you can't even decide if you're actually too broke or if you're just used to living in survival mode. When you have this illness and you can't remember the last time your mother called to check up on you, and you don't even understand why you are alive. Because my insides feel so thick, so numb. When you don't know if any of the people who will show up at your funeral really cared or just felt guilty. And you know they'll lie. The pleasantries are always full of lies. Just breathe. Snap back to this real world. Put on your pretty face mask. Be sure to paint them lips pink or red. Give the people a beautiful image so we can continue walking around together, hiding our pain and collectively trying to be happy.
Come on. Right now. You're free, Danny. Good for you or you
Are we supposed to do that?
Yeah, more please.
Oh, you want
More please, thank
Okay.
you.
So, when I wrote like these pieces, I cried. Like the first time, like I like wrote them and stuff, and I was like, shit, I cried. And so, the next one. All right. So last year on my birthday, I was in the recovery center, recovering from my last surgery, with an ostomy bag or whatever. And I have an invisible illness, and I feel like because when you have an invisible illness, people don't see it all the time, so it doesn't present itself all the time. And I know, it's like, oh, you look like you're faking, and it looks like you're okay, and things like that, but you just gotta trust somebody enough, because it's not fake. So this one is, all right, it seems more upbeat, so maybe it'll lighten the mood. So, I'm disabled now, like physically, and super emotional, but I've always been emotional. I think I have some type of mood disorder, like a black girl attitude type of mood, like all of the time, and I think it's just who I am, but I also think it's kind of like a defense mechanism, and I like it, because I like to feel safe, and I like to feel protected. I've always had to protect myself, so if it's out of my control, then it just ain't for me. You know, triggers, like, what the fuck? I just want to know what hurts me and run expeditiously in the opposite direction. That's my process, and I don't know if I mentioned this before because I forget things a lot. That's one of the things that people don't like about me. And I'm active. When I feel a thing, I feel it fully, and I burst if the feeling is too much, and that's too much. And you are an adult. You should know how to handle things the correct way by now. Everyone has a different way, but you specifically, you're smart, so you should have all of the methods memorized. You code switch, right? Emotion is not an excuse. You overreact, you are bad, you are wrong, you are worthless, I am judging you, your feelings are not valid, it's time for me to disappear, it's too soon for emotions, you don't even know me, you are fucking crazy. But yeah, me, personally, I just like to feel safe, you know? And that's that piece. This poem I wrote as a tribute to my illness more so, I think. Because like, I don't know, I've just been kind of through a lot or whatever. So this is this piece. And it's called Scars. I have tons of scars. So I think it's important for me to elaborate on what a scar actually is. A scar is created from a trauma being forced upon your body or your psyche. Anything that forces itself upon you without your permission creates trauma. The scar is something that was damaged and made it out with a story to tell. Ironically. I think that's why I find religion so, for lack of a better word, interesting. They don't teach you about suicide in Sunday school. They lie to you and tell you things like, they ain't never felt like dying before. That's devil's talk, and they ain't never felt depression. God gave you this life, so you best be grateful. And that narrative makes you feel even more alone. Like, what's the use of living if you ain't even got nobody to relate to? They like for you to think that it's all about self-love. Because as long as you love yourself, why would you ever need the love of anyone else, right? My theory is they hide behind the church, but it's pain and the prayers. or else they wouldn't be using God as a catalyst to jumpstart their hearts into me
Come on,
secrets
Danny.
and the candy-coated lies, and I know they taste sweet. For some reason, poison always does. Truth is, I used to want to get to know y'all's God. I really did. I remembered what faith looks like. I also remember something along the lines of, he'll never give you a load that's too heavy for you to bear, or something like that. And I remember one night in the hospital when I was a kid, I remember like all of this pain, and I remember asking him, why me? You know, or like, why this? Like, what could I have possibly done as a child to deserve this? And I just remembered praying some more, and I remembered that scripture, or whatever the fuck it's called, but yeah, I remembered that load being way too fucking heavy for me to carry on my own, and I remember thinking about how y'all lie.
That's the.
And I think that is actually my first scar. Nothing like a black man. Dipped and stained in blood, she be magic. The way she relished in her trauma, the way she weighed in her demons and still made it home in time to feed her insecurities all already and alone, with her head held high. So it's like a tribute to the black woman, because like she does all these things, and then you know, she's never really appreciated for like all of the mothering and things that she really does, and she has to go through all of the emotional weavings of that without really knowing. Like you really kind of, you can reach out to your mom, or you know, but it's layers to mothering. And then you have your own personal lives to deal with too, so it's just like, it's a lot. There is
Read your intro.
Oh, the intro, okay. The intro is, I wrote this book. I dyed the pages with the dust of beats and stained them with tea. I burned them. I bound them together with love and hand-weaving techniques passed on from my ancestors. I pulled the words from all of the generational trauma that has been festering in my womb since 1800 BC or some shit. And I did not mix it with honey. Ain't nothing about this book sweet. This one is, no one would listen to my pain until I dressed it up in pretty words. Personified, introspective, yet bone-chilling soliloquies added a bit of symbolism, as if my pain wasn't enough. This is a better way of coping. If you're gonna be sad, you better shuck and jive your way into their hearts.
Come on.
They ain't gonna love you unless you make that shit beautiful. Because that's true.
Danny, I read that poem. I just wanted to ask you to talk about something specific that you and I have discussed. When we were talking about the book with somebody once before, and they asked you what it was about, you were like, oh, it's about sadness. And the response to that was, well, is there like a happy ending? Is there a silver lining?
Yeah.
And I just got here. Sorry if y'all already talked about this.
No, we didn't.
But I think it's important. I think this body of work is important because sometimes it is important to just be in the feeling and not be worrying about a silver lining and not be worrying about the happy ending and not trying to justify what's happening. Oh, somebody else has it worse than me, or you know, those things, everything's gonna be okay that everybody likes to tell you when you're in your feelings. What do you think is the importance of having this type of expression without the happy ending, the textbook happy ending?
I think that, okay, I think we focus on wanting to get out of the situation more than we focus on actually healing the situation. So if we could be in the moment and actually feel ourselves in the moment and acknowledge it and know, like, all right, I feel betrayed, or I feel, all right, like, this is what's going on, and all right, so, like, think about it. Think about the adult way of handling it, because we've always had a way of handling things that we've learned since childhood. And I think when we learned it since childhood, it was acting out. It was, throwing a tantrum. It was, not communicating efficiently enough because you didn't know how to. But now you know how to. So you can if you stop and think about it. So, did I answer correctly?
That was your answer.
Okay, all right. Okay, and this is like to like women too, because I feel like younger women, when they get like their period and things like that, it's shame. It's like you should and they should know that it's not. You don't have to be. Do not label yourself an apology. You are goddess, queen, you are magic, even when you don't feel magical. Even when you couldn't conjure up a smile if you tried, and especially with the power of your blood-stained vagina leaking evidence of life and regeneration, you tell them judgmental ass bitches to bow down.
All right, so what I do want to say as someone like that, that is like, I'm super into, like, I've heard like a lot of different poetry to different, stuff like that. and I would venture to say that you are the most like vulnerable and like real person in regards to like being authentic about that sadness and that what it feels like to be in that moment. And there isn't always there was a writer that was talking about how writers, especially women, for some reason it's more so common in women writers than men, but we have this thing where we want to like end the poem or end our work in like this neat little box and pack it up and put the, and tie the bow over it. And life isn't like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very, so I personally see that as part of your, almost like part of your brand, like something that we can count on if we're hearing work for you. Very fearless, very brave work. And it feels like it's intentional. So my question essentially is like, what have you gotten from that and from being that type of writer, and where do you see it taking you?
I think it's more of a healing thing for people to be
Beautiful.
Like, it's not, I don't have to get better. Like, I don't have to be happy in this moment. Like, people just rush people's happiness.
Right.
It's like, no, like, you got to take your time, go through your process.
That's right.
You establish this process because you know that it works for you, and this is how you heal, and this is how you get to the necessary next step. So, that's the answer.
That's
I have a question.
Yeah.
Through all your life, your pain, you felt, how long did you keep that pain locked up before you started writing? Before you started expressing?
I've always been writing. Oh, this is a story that I do want to share with y'all. And I have always kept this story like, I don't know, I just never shared it. But depression is something that I've dealt with all my life. I've always been like a sad kid. There was one instance, I remember coming home from school. I don't know if anything happened at school or if anything triggered it, but I came home, I went in the kitchen, I got a knife, I went in the living room. My stepdad, Kenny, he was in the living room, and he was a great guy. Loved him, super nice. I gave him the knife, and I told him to stab me. I covered my eyes. And he took the knife and he pushed it into my stomach, and I opened my eyes. I thought it was done, and I didn't see no blood, and it was the handle of the knife. He had just turned it the other way, and he gave it back to me, and he was like, now take this knife back in the kitchen, girl. And so I took it back in the kitchen and I put it up, but like, I really wanted him to do it. Like, I don't know. So I've I think too, people think that like I'm going to like kill myself. I think that's just always been my like coping mechanism. I wouldn't want to kill myself because I don't know if it would work. And I'm just smart.
don't know what's on the other side.
I would have wanted Dr. Kevorkian to do it but he's not around anymore. I never wanted to do it myself, so just saying that. So this is this next piece, and yeah, continue asking questions if you guys have more questions. Cutting folks off is the new black. Self-sabotage is in. If I were aware enough, I'd title it Delusional Suicide. All of you just slightly resemble death, and normally I'd welcome you. There's proof that I am a mermaid in my tears. I think that's why everyone thinks I'm crazy. Sometimes my hallucinations play back in 20/20 vision, but right now I can't see. And the voices, I hear them clearly. Everyone is against you. Better not trust, better not be genuine, better not have a heart, better close yourself off, better protect, better shield, better retreat, better be good, better be unkind, better be miserable, better grip them shackles tight.
Can you tell us about your coping mechanisms, like as far as what you do regularly, like even in the poem that we worked on, like you have this section where you're like, this is what I do, this is my practice, this is mine. So not even necessarily just spiritual, you can add that too, but you just always seem like a different eclectic ass person. And I'm just curious about what Danni does when she needs to, like decompress and like what helps you and like fuels you. Art, of course.
Well, yeah. I do a lot of things to keep my mind busy. So I'm always making stuff, crafting stuff, looking up information, smoking to kind of calm it down a little bit. I got a lot of anxiety going on. I really have really bad social anxiety. I was really bad in speech class in high school. And then I really liked poetry though, and I saw the Deaf Poetry Jam shows, and I wanted to do that, so I was like, I gotta get over this shit. So my best friend actually went with me my first poetry event, and she recorded me, and there was this poem I did, and I rushed through it, like I was a bad poet. I wasn't a bad poet, I was an emotional poet who didn't know how to really use words creatively or properly at the time, and then I really, really, really wanted to know how to do that shit because it was real, real interesting. So I started to do it, and then I developed an adoration for specific words that moved me. One book that really, really moved me was Henry and June by, I think it's Anais is how you pronounce her name, and then I don't know if y'all have seen The Perks of Being a Wallflower, but that's like a movie and the book.
The book was good.
Yeah, the book was really, really good. So like things that connect with you on an emotional level, I feel like emotional intelligence is so important, and like a lot of people don't understand that like a communication is a communication in any way that it's communicated. So if someone is going to come at you and they are going to be angry, of course you're going to be offended because you're like, what the fuck? Like, why are you being angry at me? But you can also be like, all right, you mad, what's up? What you got going on? And then that can kind of snap them back like, oh, all right, I didn't realize I was doing that. Let me go ahead and change the way I'm trying to communicate this because this is not an effective way. Or any way that someone communicates with you, if there is a misunderstanding and a friend called you a bitch or something, and you're just like, well, what the fuck? Why are you calling me a bitch? Like, like just give it back and then see if that's really what it was. Because I feel like some people, they think they're communicating and they're not communicating all of the things. And we all have different ways of learning, and we have all been taught a specific way of communicating our entire lives, and that's what we got now. So it's like we can try to get out of that a little bit just to try to help with other people, but like sometimes that's just natural. Like sarcasm, I like sarcasm. A lot of people don't like my sarcasm. But my mama gave me that. You know? She gave me that. My mama blessed me with this personality and I amplified that bitch. You know. But yeah, so yeah.
One more thing, I'm sorry, because you mentioned a writer that you, can you give me a couple of your inspirations? Like people like that you can touch and that you know, and they're also like big people? Like, you can be like, Beyonce, you're also my cousin, like stuff like that.
I think that, okay, one of my major inspirations has always been my Aunt Seal. So,
Your what?
her name is Cecilia. My Aunt Seal. She's always been like this, I don't know, this mothering force in my life, and I learned a lot from her, and just with observing her, she has always been a wonderful woman. Creatively, I think that I look to people who like give off an emotion, like a creative, like Kendrick Lamar, I love him. Schoolboy Q, I love him. I don't think that he gives off, well he does, like he gives off an emotion through his music. Chance the Rapper, love him. And I love like some singers and things like that. I can't really think of any right now, but I just like people who are honest about their feelings, because everything is not always tropical and sunny. Like, so just to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that other people are going through things as well. Like, yeah, I'm going through something, but you're going through something too. So yeah, you might have offended me, but that's okay, because you're probably going through something, and I can't be taking offense to that unless you're doing it like continuously and you're doing it as a disrespect. Then I can be like, oh, like let me clear it up. Let's see, can we clear it up? No, we can't clear it up. All right, then we're gonna move on. Like we can do it in a proper way, but most people like to just be mad. So then sometimes you just gotta let them be mad.
That's true.
So this one kind of speaks to that, since I just talked about that. You don't have the right to decide if you hurt someone or how that person grieves the hurt you caused, but if you muster up enough humility to apologize because you understand the importance of friendship and the importance of what accountability and love is all about, and they are not there yet, if and or when they reject your apology, please remember you do not have to lower your self-respect as to degrade yourself by begging. Real love does not make you hurt back. Real love does not relish in pity. You do not deserve to be tortured for things communicated and attempts at trying to come to a resolve. You are worthy of greater love and deeper friendships. Be free. And I try to find, so the first one that I actually really kind of put out, I did like this little mini video too. It's like a 1 minute video on my Instagram feed. That's just me like healing or whatever, like with a little sage or whatever, but this is this piece. I've dealt with the discomfort of death for years. It's lived inside of me, feverishly trying to claw its way out, and I've choked and gagged and swallowed it back down, and now it festers in the pit of my stomach. It brews and it waits for the days when I become too weak to even scrub the stench of myself from my skin. So no, I don't care about your discomfort. I'm dying on the inside, and you want to know if I'm okay. And I don't do erotic poetry. I know like a lot of poets do erotic poetry, but like my voice is cute. My voice is cute though, so this is like my ode to like an erotic poem. It's not really erotic though. It's more like, you know, if you're like into like words and shit. Make the word your bitch. Make it obey every enunciation. Wash it, rinse it, soak it in your saliva. Let it revel in the anticipation on the tip of your tongue. Swallow it. Digest it, let it manifest in your womb, for its gestation shall be an ostentatious extravaganza. Manipulate it, suckle it, beat it into submission, omniscient being, grow it, transform it, be so seductive in its delivery that they seek out new ways to make it fit in your honor. And this one I think is important because I think everybody deals with like trying to find themselves and trying to figure out like the path that they really want to take throughout life. And then like, you don't know shit is gonna be this way. No one warned you. In Black families, like, y'all don't talk to us for real, and be telling us that it be this dirty out here. And like, I'm for real. So if I can't even say if I would have knew because sometimes the experience is just be punching it home. But I don't know, we all just be trying to find ourselves and we have to start over, I feel like, a few times sometimes, and we didn't expect that, and it kind of like throws us off, but it's like, it's okay, it's the experiences, you know, and it's, you know, you'll be able to heal, but when you're in that moment, you just, you don't want that. So I've been ripped open and stitched back together many a times, and that's strength, right? I've had to reteach myself to walk time and time again. I've had to heal. So who will I be when the recovery is over? Identity. So that's good. This one is like an ode to like all my old friends or whatever. Cause like, I don't know, when you let people go, you kind of realize like that they weren't speaking in your love language, but then too, they weren't also really trying to speak in your love language. So I think, yeah, you have a love language, you have a way of communicating things, but if somebody else don't speak your language, then you have to kind of, y'all got to work together and figure out each other language so y'all can both feel loved. So this one is like, you know, I wish they could be here, but I probably have them blocked on all social media sites because that's how I get down. I'm petty, I'm so sorry, but my feelings be hurt and I can't think and I be overthinking all the time and I just be like, I don't want to feel this way, I don't want to think about it. All right, I gotta let you go. All right, so likes mean nothing, especially from those you hold space in your heart for, the ones you've decided to love from afar because maybe you felt the pull. When you know that your love is the suffocating kind, but your anxiety can't distinguish the difference between loving a person and loving that person to subjugation. When the pull cues you to hold on tighter and the person screams, "Your love is killing me. Your love is not love to me," you have to be able to conjure up enough of your dwindling sanity, just enough of it to reassure yourself it's okay to allow folks space to breathe. Friends need freedom and time to come into their own. You need to respect growth and evolution and shit like that. You appear to be adult. It don't matter that you're an empath that can't restrict itself from feeling shit. You're crazy. It's not an excuse. I know it's just social media, but I also know you know it ain't. I hope you felt the cynicism in my words. I hope you learned to walk within your truth. Hashtag bang bang. Hashtag shots fired. Hashtag petty princess. And then this one, because anxiety. I pray for the day you realize that your anxiety is anxiety. You do have the power to redirect your thoughts. You can live your life any way you see fit. So I pray you find that day. But if you do not, I hope you learn to cope. Because I've never been one to pray. can't pray them demons away, even though that's what they say. That one. And then this one too, like for women, cause it be like a lot of nasty ass, like rapey ass shit going on, like with men and like especially like on the scene and stuff. So like I feel like I don't know, like you gotta trust women. Like nobody's supposed to be making up stories like randomly about just like, you know, being raped by a nigga. Like it's, you know, so but it's short. Victim shame them until their vaginas grow built-in barbed wire. Tough love. Because I feel like that's how, y'all give people tough love or whatever. A lot of people give, not y'all specifically. But yeah, and then that's it. But there's more poems in here. I didn't read all of them. I just read, you know.
How much are the books, and is there a way people can get them besides directly from you?
It looks like $35, and nope, to get them from me, I have them on Etsy though too. My Etsy, Danni Little, where etsy.com/shop Danni Little. Yeah, or just contact me if you're local. I'll be delivering. If you ain't local, you live like 45 minutes away. In Detroit, I can deliver it to you. I'm gonna come out with some cheaper ones for $15 of just like the pages printed or whatever, but not burned and not going through that whole process or whatever that I did. And then I'm gonna do some digital ones too, and then an audio book, and then visual representation of that. Well, you can't. You can pay 40, sir.
Let me share a book.
I appreciate that you spend a lot of time in darkness in what you do and your work, because I just don't, as many dark movies as we have and all the other type of stuff, and as dark as life can be, I don't feel like we spend enough space communicating with each other in that space. And it seems to be a place, like she said, you intentionally go. Like, this is where I am, and I want you to know that this is where I am. Appreciating you as a friend is one thing, appreciating you as an artist is another. And when we talk about our great artists that we appreciate, along the lines like the greats, there's always this, you know, this line of greatness and insanity, greatness and craziness. And a lot of times we end up losing people that we love because we were so busy enjoying their darkness and so busy enjoying the art that came out of their darkness that we didn't pay attention to that person and what they were dealing with. How do you see yourself as an artist? Because though this is your first book launch, you've been doing this for a long time. How do you see your appreciation from the people that consume your art? Do you feel that it's just a kind of give me what you got demanding work, or do you feel like an appreciation from the public and an actual concern for you as a person, not just a consumption of what you produce? And how do you see that relationship growing between you and your audience? And what would you like? What do you think it's going to look like, and what would you like it to look like? Do you see yourself as an Amy Winehouse? Like, I made some great things, and then no one cared to actually take care of me? Or do you see yourself like with a relationship progressing and getting old and growing old with your audience? And is that what you want? Do you want a friendship, or do you just want like uncomfortableness?
No, I think it's it varies from person to person. Like I feel alone a lot. I don't know if it's just me, or if I overthink a lot, or if I'm just really, really independent because I feel like I've had to be for so long. And I didn't really share my pain with people because I didn't really feel like people cared or whatever. So, I think with me speaking more in my truth, that it's attracting people who want to be friends with me and who want to establish a real friendship, as opposed to something surface, because I'm actually being honest about what I want now. I'm not